Happy Monday night. Welcome back to Taco Ball
I gotta talk about
Tuesday.
Jones. I gotta talk about Jones. I gotta talk about Jones, oh baby. Ooh.
Ooh. Oh, man.
My man, Justin Ogden. I'm Justin Saladonia. This is another edition of Taco Ball Tuesday.
And before we go any further, shout out Justin Saladonia, the birthday boy. Happy birthday on Saturday. Coming a couple
Thanks,
days.
brother.
How'd you celebrate?
Well, I celebrated same way I celebrated last year. I drove up to my hometown in Ohio and took my grandma out for steak lunch because her birthday is right around the corner. Hers is tomorrow, and she'll be turning 99. So still likes to go out and get a steak dinner on the birthday.
That is awesome. And you went to a baseball game, right?
Oh, yeah. I went and saw my hometown Cleveland Cavaliers. No, the Cleveland Indians. Freudian slip. I got a Taco Ball Jones
They're not
on
playing
the line,
basketball
baby.
right now.
Oh, my goodness. They shouldn't play basketball for a long time unless they somehow swindle that Ben Simmons trade. Oh, even then, I'm not sure. Yeah, I went and saw the Indians here in Pittsburgh take on and beat the hometown Pirates.
I'm sure you were loving every minute of that, just rubbing it in all this
Pirates
fans' faces.
I had a blast. I would have rubbed it in all the Pirates fans had any of them actually showed up to the game. I was mostly surrounded by people from Cleveland, so that was great.
Nice. Very cool. Well, happy birthday, brother. I'm grateful for you. Grateful to be here to talk what has come before us, what has recently transpired, and what is about to transpire in what has been a completely bonkers postseason.
I've lost my mind.
I defer to you.
I don't even know. I don't even know what to begin with, where to start. I find myself, I couldn't even sit down watching these games. I had so much anxiety built up, and I don't even have a dog in the fight. Except I do because I'm rooting against teams now, less than 4 teams. But yeah, it's just totally outrageous. So much has happened in the last week, and I feel like all that really needs discussed is Game 7s from the Eastern Conference Finals. But we have plenty to get to. We're going to recap those semifinal action that wrapped up just yesterday, and a quick preview of the conference finals, which have already started out west.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, let's dive straight in to what the hell transpired last night. What is going on with the process?
What process?
The
process is over. It's not busted. It's over. I don't even think the process ever happened.
Why did we put our trust in the process?
I think if the process ever did happen, I think it ended. I don't even know if this is part of the process. I think this is just like, I wouldn't even say false hope. It's just, maybe it's at this point in time, we're just beating a dead horse. But I think the process probably ended when Kawhi hit that game winner for Toronto. Game 7. I don't know. I mean, you think, how does a franchise recover from that? How does a franchise recover from being in Philadelphia? Like, I don't know. Call the Eagles. They figured it out.
Okay. So much hate. So much
Call
hate.
the Phillies. They figured it out.
But the way...
You know who you shouldn't call? The Philadelphia Flyers. Have you ever seen the Flyers win the Cup? I don't think so.
Spoken like a true Pittsburgh resident, Ohio resident, all this Philadelphia hate. But the way they lost to the Raptors was different than the way that this team lost to the Hawks. The Hawks!
This was almost more expected. We should have foreseen this. I mean, the Grim Reaper of the NBA has come to collect another soul, and that is the 2021 Philadelphia 76ers. Doc Rivers just moving throughout, crushing regimes as he goes. I mean, I don't know, plenty of blame to go around, but I guess a couple things to touch on.
We should.
What went right for the 76ers?
Well, I was gonna say we should talk a little bit about Game 6 and Game 7 and respect Atlanta's greatness before we jump.
Let's stop.
Sixers scapegoat.
Let's just stop
And determine who's got to be put on the altar.
Let's
atone for these.
No. No, there is no greatness to be had. The Hawks did not win this series. Plain and simple. They just didn't. No. I give them zero credit. 0%.
Why? Why, Justin?
Not one iota. That team stinks. Like,
when will you start to take the Hawks seriously? What do they have to do? Do they have to beat?
Yes.
They have to beat the Bucks 4-0 for you to take this Hawks team seriously. What more do they have to do?
They have to beat the Bucks. I don't care how many games it takes. I don't care if it's 7 games in overtime. It don't matter. They have to beat the Bucks to be somebody who I will take seriously. And to be quite honest, they might have to actually win the title before I take them seriously, because fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I know this question's later down the list, but we're getting to it right now. You've asked me multiple times, is this year's Hawks?
Yes.
Last year's
Miami Heat in the bubble. Making a magic run.
I don't even I don't even consider the question to give you a drawn out answer. You've asked me multiple times and all I have to say is no. I don't even I give zero consideration. So they would have to win the title because, as we've seen, the Miami Heat went to the finals last year and they were total frauds. All right. They're just fraudulent. I mean, as fraudulent as the Philadelphia 76ers.
Look at everyone they left in their wake on the way to the championship. And my point with this Hawk squad is,
look who they left in their wake on their way to the Eastern Conference Finals.
The Sixers completely threw away their chances. They lost Game 1, Game 5, and Game 7 at home. They lost 3 games at home.
3 home games as the number 1 seed to a 5 seed.
Giving up the 26-point lead. There are so many things in this series that are no excuses if you're the Sixers. But Trae Young played well enough. People stepped up for the Hawks to get them in that spot. They played like that. I love this worldwide wob tweet. This wob tweet that I loved. He said, "This series was not a choke job on the Sixers. This was a reality check." Okay? Embiid was not healthy, playing with a freaking torn meniscus. So and everyone said the whole time, if Embiid can stay healthy, the Sixers are going to be great. He wasn't healthy. That was very clear. We clearly saw Ben Simmons shooting form in every single game of the series.
Embiid played well enough for the 76ers to win this series. Carry on.
It was the rest. It was Tobias Harris. I mean the
Tobias Harris teeter. Send him back to the grocery store, bro. Let him bag some groceries.
Embiid did not consistently have a number 2 and a number 3 scorer, and they don't have a good enough point guard.
And it was easy to see him being completely gassed at the end of games. He gave everything he had. I don't know if I was talking to you about this. I had the idea that he give him the first 2 quarters, he should not play the third quarter at all and just let him
Yeah, we were
see if
talking
he can
about that.
just dominate a fourth quarter. I give him all the rest imaginable. I don't know, because he just, from first half to second half, he just seemed totally worn down.
Yeah.
And I can understand why.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, I love seeing how much he gave it out there, but I couldn't help but notice, especially game 6, game 7, the non-verbals for the Sixer squad was not good. There's all sorts of stuff going on in that locker room. There's going to be lots of change in this offseason for the Sixers with their coaching staff likely as well. But I mean, you had Embiid was like throwing up his hands when Ben Simmons chose to forgo that dunk.
A wide open dunk.
Just,
Dude,
oh,
I think I told you
it's
this
just
too.
completely dysfunctional.
So the body language is hilarious, because I think in game 5, I made a note of this. I think I texted this to you. I said, I don't think there's one person in that entire arena, this game was in Philly, that believed the Sixers were going to win that game. It was just like, everybody was just like, how quickly can this game be over? Because we know there's no chance we're going to win this game. And I was just like, every time they pan to somebody, players, coaches, fans,
it was
nobody.
Like this dreaded fear of the inevitable. Like, we're still going to find a way to lose this. So I want to transition to one more question for the Sixers Hawks, and then we got to hit on Nets Bucks in a moment here. But it is very interesting to think about where this Clippers squad is now that was coached last year by, I wonder who? Doc Rivers. Like, what was Ty Lue able to do with that Clippers squad, and what was Doc Rivers able to do with the squad?
You mean make in-game adjustments?
These coaches are going in very different directions. So, leading to my question, Justin Saldonia, birthday boy, who is the bigger scapegoat, Ben Simmons or Doc Rivers?
I think one man is more responsible. I think one man is going to get scapegoated more.
Get the axe. Okay.
I think
you tell
you have a higher likelihood of Simmons gone and Doc staying around, because I think they're going to scapegoat Ben Simmons, see what they can get for him, although his trade value is at an all-time low for a number 1 draft pick, who took 0 field goal attempts in the fourth quarter for the final 4 games of this series. But I think Doc Rivers has to be more to blame. I mean, this guy has more fraudulent than last year's Miami Heat. This guy has done less with more talent than anybody in the history of the NBA. It's just shocking to go back in time to see just like team collapses from up 2-1, 3-1, up 3-2 at home games with the far more superior talented teams. Not even being able to get to a conference finals with the Clippers all those years. I mean, you had prime Chris Paul, prime Blake Griffin, like prime DeAndre Jordan, Jamal Crawford. I mean, how many players did these teams have that just like, there's something about him. You got to stop giving him chances.
Yeah.
Like,
it almost makes me feel bad for Brett Brown being fired, because I feel Brett Brown.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, he took ownership. He was not mincing words. He's like, hey, this is on me. I didn't do blah blah blah. You have Doc Rivers. I was hearing an interview this morning on ESPN. The reporter was asking him like, so what are you going to work on with Ben Simmons? And when he was asked, like, does Ben Simmons has what it takes to, continue being a contributing player?
Be a championship level point guard.
He said, I don't know. That's for me to figure out with it. Like,
yeah, I don't really know that right now.
Just the way that, to me, like, you got to stand by your squad and you got to take ownership. And the fact that he's deflected so much to the players. He's
got to go. He stinks.
He's got to go.
He would be my number one. But
I say send them both out.
I'm putting both hands on the buttons. They're gone. I can eject those Cedo Cuz on both of them, but
Okay.
they gots to go.
So let's keep rolling here because
there's so much more.
all right. What else you got? What else you got?
I mean, how about the best Curry in the NBA?
The only Curry in the playoffs.
I mean, Seth freaking Curry, just like his value went sky high.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know where this team lands. This is a team that really got to look at this offseason and see moving parts, what they have, what they can do, if they do anything. I think that Doc Rivers quote about, I don't know if he's capable of being a championship level point guard. Like, you don't just throw your max level player under the bus moments after the game if you don't plan on, you weren't trying to get rid of him when you got there. So I don't think Doc Rivers has ever wanted him there, and clearly didn't instill in him any confidence. So Ben Simmons could use from a change of scenery. Doc Rivers could use from a change of jobs.
Yeah. And based off the nonverbals in the series, I'm not even sure if the rest of that team wants Ben Simmons. Even like his teammates want him.
No, definitely not. I mean, the announcers talked about it repeatedly, how deflating it was for everybody that when he got fouled, like just like running up and fouling him. Now, in my head, I'm like, if I'm the Sixers, I immediately, as soon as he's done with his free throws, I run over and I foul Clint Capella. You want a 35% free throw shooter shooting? Here we go.
Yeah.
Let's just go back and forth. We'll spend 20 minutes getting 30 seconds into the game. Like, I will empty guys who have not played a minute in this playoff to come out and foul just 6 straight times down the court. Like, but none of that was made.
That makes too much coaching sense, Justin. That seems too difficult.
Yeah, his teammates got to be thinking, we're out here trying to play basketball, and then we're going to have a point guard who's shooting like he had
33% from
the worst free throw percentage in the history of a playoff. Like,
that's impressive for all the wrong reasons.
All right. There's sayonara, Philadelphia.
We could write a short novel about
the
that.
Process is over. You stink. You've wasted years of everybody's lives, and I have nothing to give to you anymore. Break it all up. I say trade Embiid too, because once you start getting rid of pieces, there's just no going back. Just total rebuild. There's no point in keeping anybody. Get max value. Send them all out. Turn yourselves into the next Oklahoma City Thunder.
Start playing the long game now.
Yeah.
Trust the second process.
Yeah. Hey, we're still trusting the first process.
Trust the reboot.
So did they get like the blue screen of death? Is that what's happened in Philadelphia?
The red, white, and blue screen of death.
This isn't a crack in the Liberty Bell. This thing's been stolen. I wonder if they can make a Nicolas Cage movie about this. Who stole the process from Philadelphia?
It would be a great documentary right there. All right.
Okay.
We had another Game 7. We had another series. We've only just started, Justin. Whew, deep breath. We got a ways to go. We had another Game 7, another series that lived up to the Diablo sauce rating, and that was the Nets Bucks. Our only.
And boy, was I sweating bullets on this one.
Where we had.
Oh, sorry, my shoe came untied.
Basketball's a game of inches, right?
Yeah, or in this case, a foot long.
Those are like 18 inches right there. Which, by the way, fun fact, since we're looking and taking in, admiring Kevin Durant's freakishly long legs, he is a size 17, but prefers to wear a size larger. He prefers to wear a size 18, and that
because apparently that makes him more aerodynamic. he's a great basketball player, but I guess nobody ever said he was that smart. I, I, I,
Coming out
I
firing.
did. I had a buddy of mine in high school running track and field, and he would always buy his shoe a size small because he thought it was a lot. He thought it weighed less, and I'm like, dude, I'm like, maybe it weighs less, but you've cramped your toes so bad that like you lose more time because your feet hurt so bad every stride, and then your toes come out looking like this. So like, I don't, just the reasoning behind this.
He's just binding his feet.
Yeah. The reasoning behind this is just totally ludicrous. I mean, oh yeah, I wear a size bigger. So every step you take, your foot slides in the shoe and smashes your toes, or like your shoe's constantly coming off your foot. He's like, oh, it makes it easier to put back on when my shoe falls off.
There you go.
If you bought the right size, your shoe wouldn't fall off. Oh my gosh.
Wait, so
also,
while we're going down this shoe and feet rabbit trail, I saw a video the other day of a high schooler maybe ran a half marathon in Utah, came in 4th, and he ran a half marathon in Crocs. This guy's blazing speed running in Crocs. I was
man,
about it. I can't believe it. And I cannot wait until there is an NBA shoe line that is Crocs.
who's going to be the first player to have their signature shoe made by Croc?
Boban Marjanovic.
I was really, that is a great answer and not one I was expecting. I was really hoping that you were going to say, Nikola. Because he looks like he's playing in flip-flops anyways, so you might as well just get like the Joker Crocs.
Jokic is totally that guy that would just like wear Crocs everywhere.
Joker Crocs, and he's got like pins in the Crocs that have like the little Joker symbol, the little jester's hat. He's got like little bells on them so that every time he like shuffles it like jingles.
Oh my goodness. Oh, breathe. Okay.
All right. So people saying that he should wear a size down and he wouldn't have been on the line, that's wrong. When you change like a shoe size, it's only about 1/3 of an inch, and he was over at least an inch. But he should wear just the size that his feet are because he's an idiot. So Kevin Durant, you're great at basketball. All right. You're clearly rising towards the top of the best players in the league, but you might be a halfwit.
Whoa. So rising towards the top of the best players in the league, but not the best player in the league?
Yeah. He's not even, no. I'm sorry.
I would say.
Is he still in his prime? Is he coming down from the peak?
I think he's at his prime right now.
Then
he
needs to get out of the second round of the East.
Well, I think he was the best player in this last series of matchups that we had. I think
round 2.
Yeah. Best,
yeah,
hands down, best player. What he did for the Nets, he single-handedly
best healthy player.
Series. Best what?
Best healthy player.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we just talked about a guy who had a torn meniscus and was still putting up just insane stat lines and also plays defense. So I think if both players are healthy, Embiid opposes a tougher matchup and can play defense.
But they weren't healthy. Right. So we didn't get to see that.
I mean, I saw plenty. But I think you got to get out of the second round of the East. All I heard for what? I don't know, 14 years was 13, 14 years was the weak is East. That's why LeBron's always going. 8 straight trips to the finals. The East is weak. All the best players play in the West. Mm-hmm. Oh, LeBron went to the West, won a title last year. KD went to the East. First shot at the playoffs. He's out in the second round.
Again, largely due to injuries. I mean, the Lakers are a pretty good team in the West, and they're not still in the playoffs.
Well, no, they're not. But I'm not talking about the West. I'm talking about the East.
Okay.
I think he's got to get farther in the second round if he wants to be the best.
Yeah, but I don't. But come on, this only KD leading this Nets squad. There's no way that they're like. Whenever Harden went down, when Kyrie went down, I almost figured this series was over. Bucks, to me, were the de facto favorite to win this series, and the fact that they took this to 7 games, took it to overtime, took it to a shot to win the game, to me is a testimony to how great KD's playing right now. What else? What else do you have for this recap in this series?
Huge,
Exceptionally
massive play and moments from the Duchess of Milwaukee, Chris Middleton. So I say that with a bit of a laugh because I was texting a good buddy of mine, a big supporter, by the way, on Twitter, Jogo the Kazakh, or on Instagram, No Time for Jet Lag, Josh Gonzalez, who we will have on the podcast sooner rather than later.
Right.
He, I'm not sure if it was mistakenly or not, probably not, but he called him Kate Middleton. And every time he hit a good shot, we would just refer to him as the Duchess of Milwaukee. So shout out to my boy and shout out to the Duchess of Milwaukee, Chris Middleton. Huge moments. Just stepped up when needed. Looking for him to be more consistent now heading against the Atlanta Hawks. So, man, what a fun series. Just like the highs and the lows from 49-point blowout to Game 7, overtime. Brooke Lopez, what are you thinking? You're coming out of a timeout. There's 6 seconds left. Nobody told you you had 2 seconds on the shot clock? What?
Doesn't even get a shot off. Gives
you
them
probably
time
think
back.
wearing shoe sizes that are too big is a great idea, you big oaf. Like, all you have to do is throw it at the rim, and it gives them like 3 seconds at most to catch the ball and go down the court. Then, how ridiculous in overtime, Steve Nash, the Nets, had a timeout. The final possession. Hey, maybe call a timeout. Give Kevin Durant a couple minutes to rest. Instead, he comes down with boots of lead on his feet and just has nothing left in the tank. And who could blame him after playing like 98% of the minutes of this series? Like, just totally outrageous stuff.
Played 52 minutes in that Game 7, which is
Harden on his hamstring strain played the same. I think Bruce Brown, they credited it for 51 minutes, but he played 51 minutes and 54 seconds because Claxton came in with 6 seconds left to guard the inbounds pass, and he got a minute on his sheet. But that's it. So 3 guys played 52 minutes in that Game 7. Nash, you have no bench. Why did Jeff Green all of a sudden get no minutes? He had 27 points just a little bit ago. I think alongside the injuries, I think like the 76ers, Steve Nash needs to wear this because I think he got outcoached by a guy who I don't even think is that good of a coach in Budenholzer because we don't need to get into that. But I just think so many things, I don't know. I just think he didn't really know what he was doing. There were moments in previous games in the series where the games were well in hand and he still got all his starters out there. Like, it's 16, 17-point game with 4 minutes to go. Why is KD still out there just getting worked over by PJ Tucker for every offensive possession? Just like
jawing him up in his face.
Yeah, just like
getting under his skin, driving him
what
crazy.
I wanted to see more from the Bucks though was going at KD and Harden specifically on their defensive end. Like you made Kevin Durant work harder on offense than you made him work on defense. Force him to guard. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm watching, but I feel like with the Bucks, I never saw a single pick and roll. Like, do they do pick and rolls in Milwaukee, or is it just ISO ball and swing it? It's a Giannis drive and kick, or it's, Middleton ISO. Like,
well, and we had that moment in Game 6. This was like in the last maybe 2.5 minutes where there was a lot of Giannis back to the basket. Kind of he gets the ball, the low post. He's backing down James Harden. James Harden waves off the double team. And what does Giannis do? He spins into a contested fadeaway. I mean, Giannis is a tall guy. He's got some size. He's got some strength on James Harden. Why don't you just body him up? And he did that more in Game 7. Like I loved that little crab dribble hook shot that tied up the game or put them up. That's what I wanted to see more of the whole series is bang it down low, get fouls on Jeff Green, get the guys in foul trouble, wear them down on that side of the court, and they're just not going to be able to keep up with size and strength.
Is Brook Lopez allergic to the paint? I mean, he didn't step inside the 3-point line. I think I saw one dunk for him, and it was like after the Bucks were already up late in a game, and I'm like, he could do that every possession. They have no size and no interior defense. So like,
he likes feeling that 3-point stroke.
Why are Giannis and Lopez not down low? They have no post play. I talked about this in Game 5 that they lost, where they were up 17 points, and then they just I'll just keep shooting threes. That'll work. Or take advantage of the fact that you have a massive size mismatch and just get 2 points every possession because they won't catch you. You're already up 17. Like, you don't need any more 3-point possessions. And if you're inside getting those buckets, you're getting fouled and you're going to the line and putting guys in foul trouble. Like, for Giannis's free throw struggles, Ben Simmons' free throw struggles, if you're going to struggle to shoot free throws, okay, go get more free throws anyways. They're going to keep fouling you. If you're not going to get an advantage by making the free throws, take an advantage by putting other guys into foul trouble. Mm-hmm. Like Giannis, make people foul you, make Blake Griffin get early fouls, and then go sit, and then force Kevin Durant to come guard you. Force Claxton to come in and guard you. Force other guys to switch onto you. Like, I just can't believe they didn't target a guy who has a bum hamstring and couldn't move east-west.
Yeah, like the guy that contested that shot in Game 6, James Harden.
Like Drew Holiday should have had just a monster series. And all I saw from him, I looked around, the camera panned from player to player to player, and literally just like buckets of sweat drenching off them. They panned to Drew Holiday. He was as dry as you. I'm like, did that guy sweat? Is he even playing? What's he doing on the court? I was like, they brought this guy in. He's supposed to be the big key acquisition that made them get over the top. And, obviously still basketball to play. They're still playing. So not all bad, but I definitely want to see more out of him moving forward. Like, I don't know why they couldn't take advantage of Harden in this series, but
I'm glad you brought up Drew Holiday, because to me he is a X factor that brings so much more defense, like lockdown defense, but enough contributing offense as well to the squad that their big three now in Middleton, Antetokounmpo, and Drew Holiday, like that's that's a scary big three if they're all clicking. And so I'm really excited to see how they match up against the Hawks. But we have one more series. Feels like it's been over for a week.
I think it's
The
been over
Jazz
longer than a week.
and the Clippers. What happened to the Utah Jazz, our number one seed in the West?
Our number one frauds out west. Rudy Gobert. Dude, this is like, that's my word. I'm sorry I've used it too many times, but Rudy Gobert.
Fraud.
Just exposed, fraudulent, defensive player of the year.
He was getting
three-time
dunked on by
defensive player of the year. I think my main man, Mr. Nick Wright, was talking about him earlier today, and I was listening a bit. But how do you just get so exposed in the playoffs? He's had, as a three-time defensive player of the year, he gets into the playoffs. In the series they've lost, he has been like minus like 30 or minus 40 points in the series. Like this is like 4 or 5 series in a row. He's just been a net minus, like just outscored with him on the court. It just like embarrassingly. As soon as they go to small ball, and he seems like all of a sudden he's just like so limited offensively that he can't take advantage of the fact that they don't have anybody close to his size. Like, why can't you just throw it into him and get dunks on the other end and force them to get in foul trouble? Force them to bring in a big to guard you. It was just like such a mismatch on every facet.
They needed Mike Conley back in the series sooner than he came back. And they just, I mean, I think a lot of credit for the Clippers coaching staff. Like they made this Jazz squad into Donovan Mitchell. Like it felt like he was the only one that was consistent. Our near like simultaneous 6th man of the year in Clarkson and Joe Ingles. It never seemed like both of them could be shooting well to take off some of the load for Donovan Mitchell. And in the end,
it didn't seem like either of them could put together more than one half of basketball.
Mm-mm.
I mean, Clarkson, every time I'm like, last week we talked, I'm like, oh, Clarkson's going to have a good game. He's due. He would go off in the first quarter or first half, and he'd be like, oh, 17 points in the first half, 15 points in the first half, 21 points. And then I look at the final box score, 15 points, 17 points, 21 points. I'm like, did you play the second half? I know the games are on late, and I wasn't fully awake for all of them, but I thought I saw you out there. Like, I can't believe – I don't know. I guess I should believe it because what really do they have other than Donovan Mitchell? I mean, what good is a defensive player of the year if you can only guard centers? Like, what do? You can't switch pick and roll. Your length doesn't give anybody problems because they can step back and shoot over you, and you're just too slow. I don't know. You're way too slow to get sucked in on a double with somebody driving to the hoop and then be able to get back out to defend somebody on the wing. So cheers, rack up a few more defensive player of the years, but you're a bum. Like this is another team. So the Sixers, no way they can just run it back with the team that they currently have. Mm-hmm. The Jazz, no way. This is like, what do they talk about? The definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting something different to happen. Just madness. There's no way Utah can just bring back this group of guys, make no trades, no acquisitions, and then expect a better result. Because if Phoenix brings back Chris Paul next year, they don't seem to be going anywhere. And they seem to have unlocked enough stuff that even as Chris Paul is getting older, maybe he does end up leaving because he's on a 1-year deal. Maybe he has the option to go somewhere else. I don't know. But I don't see them going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
The Clippers are interesting to me because them celebrating the way they did, beating the Jazz without Kawhi Leonard, making everybody think that Paul George is the guy and can be the guy. If they don't go to the finals, I still have to say that it's just an abject failure of a season for them. Getting to the conference finals when the expectations just a year ago were championship or bust, like, this is LA, it's our town now. This is like, no, but I think the Clippers feel that they did enough, that they're going to be happy enough to say, oh, even if we lose to the Suns, like, we could bring it back. I think they're another team that if they don't get to the finals, they have to make some moves. Somebody's got to leave. I feel like the only person level-headed enough, well, maybe he's not that level-headed, but the only person would be Kawhi if they don't make it to the finals, to just be like, I don't have to stay. I got an option. They have no draft picks, and they're anchored down by Paul George. So he might be the one to say, I'm out of here, because I think the rest of the people, front office, owner, think, oh, we're good enough. We can win titles.
Yeah.
And if you don't get to the finals this year, I don't think you're getting there next year or the year after. So
I agree with
the Lakers aren't going to be quiet in the offseason. They're going to do some roster shakeups and expect to be healthier, because they'll have much more off-season rest heading into the season. So
I think you're spot on. I think Kawhi would be the first person to go, and just kind of a piece. Like, I gave it a shot here, made a run here, wasn't healthy this go around. I think he has no problem kind of switching, going somewhere else, and seeing if he can be that difference maker to take a team from, third, fourth seed to championship contender. So here's my last question for Jazz Clippers. Do you think this squad will be better against the Suns without Kawhi? Kawhi's been ruled out for game 2. Also not going to have Marcus Morris. It's very obvious to me that Kawhi is playing through a knee injury. He's played in through playoffs before, kind of nursing similar injuries. But is this Clippers squad going to go farther without Kawhi? Does it come down to if we see playoff P or pandemic P? Is he going to be the difference maker if he can keep up this?
This is interesting, because this is interesting. This is hard to even think about, because you have to, like, your first thing is to be like, no, this team isn't better without Kawhi.
On paper, right?
It just doesn't even make sense. But like.
But here, let me interrupt you, Justin, to say that this Clipper squad, when I was watching, like, I didn't stay up for some of the games, but watching highlights, like, Terrence Mann came in and absolutely took over game. Like, they were playing with an energy and enthusiasm that I feel like wasn't there when Kawhi was on the court. I think for me, there's so much of their – I mean, Kawhi is pretty enigmatic. He's a pretty strange character to be around. But I think that their offense is multifaceted. It forces other guys to step up, because it's so much of their offense, I think, revolves around Kawhi ISO, revolves around Kawhi post-ups. And so I feel like we saw a more complete offensive scheme for the Clippers when Kawhi's not on the court. Batum was making shots. Like, these tons of role players were playing super well.
Batum needs to make shots no matter who's out there. The question here now, like, I think I already know my answer, because you did your best to tell me why they were better without Kawhi, and all you did was make me realize why they're not. Like, oh, Terrence Mann stepped up for what, 1 game? You think you can rely on Terrence Mann in a 7-game series?
Game 6 and Game 7. He
You think you
balled
can
out.
rely on him in a 7-game series? Can he be consistent? We know Kawhi can be consistent. Who stepped up when the Clippers needed it in round 1 against the Mavs?
Yeah, I mean Kawhi definitely he
Like,
for sure carried that
I,
series.
I just don't see Terrence Mann. What, he could come in and help get you 1 game? You said 2, but I
Well,
think a lot of that was Paul George. Can he get you 4 games? Kawhi's a guy that can get you 4 games. Is he healthy enough to do it? I don't know. It's starting to get similar to that stretch in Toronto where he would have to sit a game here and there and to rest himself to be able to carry the load offensively and defensively. I just don't know if he's healthy enough to do offensively and defensively every night. But I would still trust him over any other player on that squad.
gotcha.
He has a track record. He's proven himself. Somebody might get hot for a game or 2. It doesn't make them Kawhi Leonard. So
it seems
I
like
think they
your
need him
response
back.
is right now they can play better without Kawhi, but over the course of this Western Conference Finals, and if they manage to beat the Suns, the finals, he absolutely has to be in the equation for them to have a chance.
Yeah, I think after game 2, regardless of if the Clippers win and tie it up or don't, he's got to come back. The Suns, let's just say they've proven. Let's just say they've proven more than the Hawks have, but the jury's still out. So we'll see. But I'm higher on them than the Hawks, and I feel like they're playing with a confidence that they could take this series and they could take it quickly, especially if Kawhi doesn't come back.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to fold like the Jazz, as some might say, like a cheap suit. But, it's – I mean, we had a reemergence of the triple BP. We're just filtering right in, I guess, to the preview of the next round. But
we are.
like DeAndre Ayton, he showed more in game 1 than Rudy Gobert. I mean, just punishing them for playing small ball, getting offensive rebounds, putbacks, slamming it home.
Really strong pick and roll.
Much more gifted offensively, able to take advantage of the small ball. And I will be interested to see how the series goes on, how he handles defensive assignments if the Clippers stay in small ball and he's asked to switch on to smaller people. He seems as though he has more speed than Gobert. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. So,
and Chris Paul, when will Chris Paul be back in this series? Is he coming back for game 2?
I don't think so. He's been symptom free. I don't know how many days in a row he's got to get tested. Mm-hmm. There was talks that he had already gotten his first shot. Then he tests positive. I don't know. Maybe he got vaccinated, maybe he didn't. But he's in this health and safety protocols, and until the NBA says he can come back, he can't. So I don't know. I don't think he's playing or expected to play in game 2.
Yeah.
But you saw some guys step up in his absence. Booker, who not only takes on the majority of the scoring when he is there, but also picked up the assists. Cameron Payne, those guys picked up the distribution and the facilitation that is missed with Chris Paul on the floor. So they got a lot of talent. They remind me of the old school grindhouse teams down in Memphis with
Zebo,
Marcus Saul, Zebo, my man Zach Randolph, like
Mike
Tony Allen, like, yeah, gritty, tough. They'll outwork you, and they'll have fun doing it, and they're going to rub it in your face.
Yeah, they'll just punish you on the boards, like that's.
But one thing that those teams didn't have was, I think, a guy like Booker who could go for 40 a night in a playoff series. Like, they remind me of that. So fun to watch, and looking forward to seeing where this series goes.
So Suns Clippers, what team are you taking, and how many games is it going to take them to win the series?
I think the Suns win. I don't think the Clippers are they better than last year's Clippers? I think we're seeing a little bit of that. I just don't think they have. I don't think they have it. I don't think they are constructed well enough. They still don't necessarily have an elite ball handler who runs the point for them. And Kawhi's health is still up in the air. So I think his absence hinders the Clippers more than – I think he's more missed than Chris Paul is. Because Kawhi is more of a lead-by-example kind of guy. And Chris Paul is –
face. Let me rub this in. Let me smack you on the face.
But Chris Paul is still talking – Chris Paul is talking to his guys every single day. Like, he's communicating with them.
Whether or not he's on the floor.
Right. So I don't think Kawhi does that. I don't think that's his personality, his character. I don't think he's pumping the other guys up. That's just not who he is.
No.
So
not at all.
It's hard for him to lead by example if he's not playing. So I think the Clippers miss him more. I'm taking the Suns. I want to give the Clippers some respect and say 6 games, but I wouldn't be surprised if it only goes 5.
Mm-hmm. And I think Kawhi, unlike the KDs, unlike Joel Embiid, he will prioritize his health and his personal well-being over the short-term ability to influence the outcome of a game. And to me, as I'm looking at him being out game 2, probably coming back game 3, even when he's back, he's not going to be – there's no way he plays 48 minutes. There's no way he plays 52
he's
minutes.
He's not coming into a game and playing the whole thing.
he's going to –
36 tops.
Yeah, he's gonna be great. He's gonna be 80-90% of his normal effort, but that to me is going to be the difference maker in this series. How healthy is your top 3? And the Clippers to me are very healthy. They're clicking right now. They're playing with confidence. I think that the Clippers are going to possibly steal one game in Phoenix. Whether that's I think game 2, they actually have the best shot while Chris Paul is still out. I see it going 6 games as well. I just don't think the Clippers will have a healthy enough Kawhi, and their 4th, 5th, and 6th options will have the same contributions as the Suns 4, 5, and 6.
So I may be having a brain fart here, but who's their 3rd option?
For the
Who's the Clippers after Kawhi and Paul George? Who do they have that's
Well, some nights it's Terrence Mann. Some nights it's Reggie Jackson.
Reggie Jackson?
Periodically, Patrick Beverly. Marcus Morris had some monster games.
But you said he's out now?
Yes, he is, I think, highly doubtful for game 2.
Batum?
Batum, he
Okay,
might come in and get you like 15 points one game, maybe. But yeah, like
maybe they could trade Batum for Tobias Harris in the offseason.
But yeah, we were talking a little bit about Donovan Mitchell. Like Devin Booker will put up the numbers that Donovan Mitchell did. And then, oh, by the way, we're still going to have Ayton like beating you silly inside. And we'll have Chris Paul like kicking you in the nuts every possession and shoving you over. And like he does that little dribble where he like slows down and you run into him. He'll be just racking up fouls left and right against you.
I'm just wondering at what point does Chris Paul go through the secret players tunnel and start fighting Rajon Rondo? And
I'll never forget that moment. Like fake fight. Oh, so we seem to be in agreement about Suns Clippers. Last.
I think we got to categorize it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I hesitate to just go with the hot sauce matchup here.
Okay.
Oh no, mild hot fire sauce matchup. Sorry. I want to give it a Diablo sauce because of everything that we've seen so far in the playoffs. But it's possible that we've seen the peak of these playoffs because those series have just been so good that maybe we're due for some duds. But, this is borderline border sauce maybe. But, like, there's a lot of intrigue here. If this goes down in flames for the Clippers and they look terrible like their old selves, is it time to blow it up? So I think there could be some big consequences here for the Clippers. I don't think there's big consequences for the Suns because they're a young and upcoming team. And I think all they see is we're hungry. We're going to keep doing this. Like we're here to stay for a while. The Clippers, I feel like are like, well, we weren't ever really here to stay for a while, maybe 3-4 years, but epic failures in years 1 and 2, maybe it's looking for an exit. So I don't know. Intrigue.
I'm
border sauce.
This for me is a fire sauce matchup. And because of Devin Booker, I think that when this Sun squad wipes away the Clippers, if it's 4 games, if it's 5 games, if it's 6 games, I think this is we're still like starting to climb up the mountain that is Devin Booker. We're ascending and starting to experience his greatness on the national kind of at the national spotlight. I think that we could look back at this series, this playoff season, and really go, this was when Devin Booker like went from great to elite and leads the squad to a number of deep runs and a number of championships. It's on wax.
All right, so just quick before the final preview.
Okay.
Some player comparisons. I've been hearing a lot of Donovan Mitchell, very similar to Dwayne Wade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to hear Devin Booker similarities to Kobe Bryant.
Yep.
I personally think Luka Doncic is very similar to LeBron James.
Okay.
We've got Trae Young as the Curry.
Steph Curry.
There's a lot of these guys. This is the next generation. All those guys aren't in the playoffs. The big names we're used to seeing.
Yep.
We've got Trae Young. We got Devin Booker. Donovan Mitchell just went out. Luka Doncic balled out. I think maybe Booker gets a couple. Maybe Luka finally gets some help, and or maybe he leaves. Maybe he's traded. But
Yeah, whether it's with the
I start to
Mavs or
see
another
I see
spot.
some similarities, but that's just to say this is that next generation. These are guys we're going to be watching for the next 10 years
Yeah.
battle it out for league supremacy.
Yeah. So one player on that you didn't mention there, Giannis. Who would you compare Giannis's game to?
I don't know. This isn't really comparing Giannis's game to anybody, but somewhat of a career arc. It hasn't followed it exactly because there hasn't been a team change, but his time in Milwaukee has always reminded me of LeBron's first stint in Cleveland, where small market, I'm going to stay, re-sign my rookie contract extension. I'm going to give it everything I have. And they kept bringing guys in, and they're like, oh, these are the guys that are going to put this over the top. These guys are so good. And I'm like, you got Shaq, who's like 42 with a broken toe, who's played like 12 games, and then he's going to play in the playoffs, and you think he's going to be able to help elevate this team. You've got Mo Williams, who is the only guy who played with LeBron the same year and went to an all-star game, and that was as a reserve because somebody else got injured. Like, he never even played with another like legit all-star. Now, these guys in Milwaukee have been to all-star games alongside Giannis, but I think that's because of how great their record was. They were like, oh, well, they're the best team in the East. We got to vote these guys, and they must be good. And then they just constantly let him down. So, I mean, the free throw struggles, the inside game, he's yet to develop that jump shot. That was a big knock on LeBron. Like, oh, well, we want him to shoot. We just don't want him to attack the rim. So I see similarities there with LeBron, but it's weird. He's in a weird spot. He's in between the generations. He got stuck with LeBron, Curry. They were controlling the league, dominating
KD.
everything. KD, yeah. He came along in that middle tier. Now there's all these young guys, and maybe he ends up getting one. I think this.
It's got to be this year.
Yeah, this is the preview we're going into. Bucks Hawks. I think the Bucks win. I think this is the year. I do think Giannis gets one this year, and that kind of changes things. But you can't be surprised if, like you said, Devin Booker, Chris Paul finally gets one, and Devin Booker is sort of the lead guy there, scoring-wise, putting up just like monster numbers and really claiming himself. It's weird to think about because you got so many young guys and one guy who's like left out and seems like he's going to continue to get left out because his team has just gone backwards because their front office is just not interested in doing anything to help or get rid of anybody else, is like a guy like Jason Tatum, who a lot of people also compared to Kobe Bryant, who worked out with him a lot and had adapted a lot of the style of his game. But I mean, look at the other people in the East. I mean, you got to think Boston just has fallen so far behind now that like where do you put all these guys? Like, it's hard to, but you see a lot of these similarities. I don't think the Hawks are for real. I think
You're still not.
Yeah,
They're fraud.
I think this is Giannis's. I think this is his best chance to get a ring, because what we saw, like you said, from Brooklyn without their full complement. I mean, I don't know what their roster looks like next year. No financial flexibility, but if those three guys are healthy, you got to think it's going to be even harder for them to get through. But in the same sense, I feel like they're in a better position than Philly. So going forward, the East, I think it's still going to be a Milwaukee Brooklyn thing. I think there's just too much ridiculousness happening in Philadelphia, and I think it's only going to get worse from there. And we're going to just see the dumpster fire memes. But I think the Bucks take out the Hawks. I think Giannis heads to his first finals, and I think this is the best chance he's going to get, perhaps in his career, to win a championship. That's provided everybody stays healthy going forward with all these other teams. But this would be rough this would be a tough one if he can't capitalize on this, because you look at the path, they took out arguably the toughest foe. He doesn't now have to play Embiid. He doesn't have to play a 7-game series against a healthy Anthony Davis. The guys that can really challenge him inside aren't there. So
it's highly unlikely there's going to be a healthy Kawhi or Paul George guarding you.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good
Marcus Morris.
I think this is the Bucks' best chance at a championship.
I think it's theirs to lose right now. I think they should be considered the favorites. But in the same sense, I'm not taking them in a sweep against the Hawks, because they just showed me multiple times why they still can't be trusted. They can't take advantage of their opponent's weaknesses. They're not going to challenge Trae Young. They're not going to force him to play defense or put him into awkward pick and rolls. They're not going to try and take advantage of any size down low. I mean, Giannis should be able to feast on Clint Capella, but he'll hang out at the 3-point line, take 2 steps back, and then try and charge in real fast like he did on 90% of his possessions. Atlanta is not afraid to just foul nonstop. So you better believe
you're seeing a lot more Giannis free throws.
You better believe you're going to see them coming right after him. So I'm going to take the Bucks in the series because I think they find a way to get it done, but I think it goes longer than it should because of some of the inconsistencies and the deficiencies that they have. So I'll take the Bucks in 6, and I'm intrigued and I want to watch. So give it the fire sauce, give it the Diablo sauce, whatever you want to give it. I'm intrigued. I want to see, because you're just going to be so aggravated like almost the whole time.
I'm a little hesitant on the Diablo rating. I'm going to keep this at a fire because we have on one hand a team that should be in this position and should be favored to continue. Like, we've got this narrative of can Giannis get to the place where he's never been in the finals, and then hopefully further than that. And you have a team in the Hawks that shouldn't be here right now. They almost got knocked out by the Knicks, and they should have gotten knocked out by the Sixers. I'm still favoring the Bucks. To me, if their big three can stay healthy, I don't see the Hawks being able to match that output. I think we're still going to have, like, this series is going to be a ton of fun to watch. I love watching the home games in Atlanta because that crowd goes nuts every game. I mean, they're like, Trae Young, he is like caressing that crowd. He's getting a minute. He's doing push-ups on the court. He's talking to his family sitting court. So, like, he is getting everyone involved in those games. And so I'm excited to watch this series, but I'm going with the Bucks as well. I think it's going to be a 7-game series, and if it is a 7-game series, and the Bucks take care of it at home, we could have a Clippers squad with a week of rest more than what the Bucks get. So it's going to be interesting.
Clippers squad. So you're taking the Clippers over the Suns?
Oh, I misspoke. Freudian slip.
Yes.
I'm going with the Suns. Still sticking with the Suns, Bucks.
Suns could have a ton of rest. All right. Well, I think that wraps things up.
It's late.
It's very late. First night of no NBA action in like a month and a half. And I'm already itching for another game. So as always, follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram at Taco Ball Tuesday. Coming at you next week. We'll be well underway.
And we'll be cranking up the meme game as we have fewer series to follow. The memes will be flowing. I can't wait.
It's going to be awesome. All right, brother. Until next time, yo quiero taco ball.
Yo quiero taco ball. Peace.